Hello, hello. My name is Brittany.
And I'm Kate.
And we are
The Fools.
Join us as we explore everything spiritual, astrological, and overall mystical.
Don't forget to follow your intuition, but more importantly, follow us at The Fools.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fools podcast, guys. We're so excited to have you. And this is a very special episode because we have a new guest.
And I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, guys. My name is Bene, and I'm super excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
And if you listen to our Medium episode that we had before this, you know that we went to James Bene's group reading and had a crazy, amazing experience. And now we are fortunate enough to have him back on the podcast.
Or back on the podcast for the first time.
For the first time.
To have him here in general. So thank you for agreeing to do this.
Of course.
And just to start it off, I think we want to know a little bit about you, how you got started, just your favorite readings to give people even.
Yeah. How about we start from like the very beginning? Like, I remember we talked a little bit after class, but like, how did you get started in this like spiritual journey, like from the beginning?
Wow. Okay.
Was it like childhood or like when you're maturing more and like?
It was all in my childhood for sure. Basically, long story short, when I was a child, I would have a lot of like psychic and spiritual experiences. I would hear voices. I would kind of see, spirit or people that have passed. And it was pretty scary. It was not something that I like understood then. So most often I was just like freaked the hell out.
Yeah.
I would sleep with my light on like every night for years. And so it was just something I was managing then and something I was experiencing. And I really tell people because I was really young it's like, no one's going to believe me if I tell them this anyway. So why do it? I had like an out of body experience when I was a child, like astral projection, all this crazy stuff. Yeah, it was really wild. And I had no idea what I was doing or no idea what was happening. I just knew like, I didn't even know what meditation was, but I guess I was just called to it. So at night I would like lie there and breathe. And this is when I was like, I wasn't even 10 yet. I remember just doing deep breathing exercises and like trying to get my body to like pull out of so I'm trying to get my like spirit to pull out of my body. And I was just all into like that type of stuff. And I don't know, from that, I feel like I just kind of kept my channel open. I kind of just kept my third eye like wide open as I grew older. In my teens, it slowed down a little bit, but it was still kind of there now and again. Then in my 20s, I went to college and, college was a different experience. I majored in like music and theater. And so it was just like, I had a lot on my mind. I would have experiences here and there and I would feel things about people a lot. Mm-hmm. But I really wouldn't say it because I just felt like I was judged a lot because of my connection to spirit, especially when I was younger, when I would talk about it with people. Mm-hmm. So I really still kept it to myself. Even though I did have a couple of crystals secretly like stashed in my nightstand in college, whatever.
I love that.
Seriously, I'm like, oh, I'm going to take my crystals with me. But it wasn't really until like the full blown experience was after college, I toured a lot doing music. And then when I came back, I started bartending in New York City and just kind of like doing that for a while, just kind of having fun. And I just got this calling. I don't know. It just, everything that was happening to me as a child, like rushed back.
Wow.
I find myself as like a 20 something, like having to sleep with my light on again, like having to like try to get spirit away from me, definitely was being contacted. And it was scary. And it was not something that I ever thought I would do. It was something that I avoided, to be honest with you. But I always had such a interest in the occult, in religion, in spirit in general. As a kid, I read a lot of like spiritual books without even knowing what I was reading. And so when I was older, I could understand, okay, this is like a spiritual phenomenon. I kind of understood at least that I didn't have to be so scared. And that's when I sought counsel. Really, I was like, I need to figure out what's going on in me. And so I started to see a guru. Her name was Kelly Piper. She lived on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And she was just amazing. She really helped me understand what was going on, like helped me understand that these were gifts, put me on a path to like understand them and to study them and to cultivate them. And through that, I met other teachers. I did Reiki training, which was really important for me because learning Reiki helped me like open up even more to energy, but helped me to control energy as well. And after that, I just started to like honestly throw myself in full force. Like I would take workshops, seminars. I started to read constantly all types of spiritual books, all type of like self-help books. And I started to realize like this is something that is not just happening to me. This is something that I'm meant to help happen to other people. I knew that that moment that I had to share this and I had to use it for good. And so I really put my music career and my performing career on hold at like a time where I really shouldn't have been. I was like in my early 20s and lost a lot of friends, you know, stopped partying the way I was. And I just really devoted myself to it because I felt very strongly that I should, because I had no choice, because it was so strong and I had to learn how to regulate myself. Then I started seeing clients slowly, like after studying and after, you know, gaining confidence, doing the work, I started to slowly see people, and I was seeing them for like little healing sessions. I was seeing them in my apartment. It was nothing crazy, you know, really, it was simple. I thought,
It could
but
be sketchy.
yeah, it was kind of, I mean, yes.
For you, I'm like inviting people into your home.
It always is like a
like-
faith kind of thing though,
Yeah.
with like any kind of energetic exchange. There's
Yeah.
like some sort of trust that has to be had. So
Yes. Yeah, there definitely is. And just a funny story, my first client ever was this guy who like, it's hysterical, who had like cross eyes, like who was cross-eyed, and he like wanted me to like help him fix it. And it was quite amusing. That'd be my first go. I'm like, I don't know if I do that, but
but I'll Reiki anyway.
I'll Reiki you and peace out. But after that, I got this one client, her name was Lorraine, and we just started to have like these really intense sessions where I was getting just downloads for her and channels, and I was basically doing like mediumship work. And she was like, whoa, what just happened? And she just like recommended me to all her friends. And then within literally a week or two after I started, I had like 10 clients.
Wow.
And it just started to snowball really fast from there. And people really were interested in the mediumship and receiving messages. I wasn't 100% like at that time. Reiki was easier because it was like, you know, you don't have to think too much. I still was self-conscious about being a medium or a psychic. I never wanted that to be like my pronoun. I never wanted that to be my name. Like, oh, he's a psychic, you know, it just wasn't my thing at the time. Until like I was pushed into it. You know, when you are young and you start a business and it's spiritual and people start to come to you, they kind of crafted me, you know, and in the span of years, you know, I started to learn what people wanted from me. And it was then always psychic stuff, mediumship, contacting you know, those who had passed. And it just kind of started to happen. And so the Reiki and that stuff kind of went to the back, and I just kind of became a full-fledged intuitive. And then I also am a life coach, so I would find ways to kind of throw that in there as well. So I was helping people heal or transition through things. And it wasn't just like, you know, yeah, you're gonna have 3 kids, and you know,
Here's your message.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Crystal ball
Bye-bye.
moment.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it started. And then I opened a business in New York. I mean, I traveled to Nepal and Thailand and like kind of threw myself into Buddhism. And, you know, it just, I kind of walked the walk. And also I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. Funny that I'm bringing this up, but I really turned to spirit and to holistic health care and wellness to really heal myself, to really do that for myself, to give that gift to myself. And so I worked really hard on doing that. And that's still a journey, and it's a journey for all of us. We're constantly healing and you know, trying to remove what experiences you had that might not have been pleasant. But and I think that's a lifelong journey, you know.
It's actually, it's crazy. Like I feel like your journey growing up is, I wouldn't say like opposite, but I feel like as an adult, like you couldn't help but like go into spirituality because it was such a calling so innate in you, where like the most of the population is like seeking those answers because they can't reach spirit. So it's so funny, including myself, where I'm always like, oh, I want to like talk to my spirit guides. I want that connection. And for you, it was like, guys, leave me alone. Like, I just want to like play music and like have my own life. It's so crazy just how, I don't know, humans are so different, like innately. Your experience is so interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I could look back and say, wow, that's kind of wild. Some of the things that I still remember from childhood. I'm like, wow, I haven't thought about that in so long. I would have like whacked out dreams and just like really bizarre things happening to me. And a lot of them were dark in nature. And that's what I could never, like, that's what I was grappling with. Like, I was like, okay, angels, if that's what's coming, but they felt much, like, I guess, more mischievous than that, you know? And then I realized, you know, if you're a channel and you're a kid and you're so open, you know, you're open to all types of energy to come in. Because I didn't know then how to block things or how to create spiritual boundaries. I didn't know any of that. It was just like I was bombarded, kind of. So yes, I was like, get the hell away. So sometimes I say I wouldn't really wish that on anyone, you know, but it was just kind of what happened. So I had to go with it.
Well, since you just brought up boundaries, I was actually really wondering how you kind of set those for yourself, because I know being a spiritual person, being a medium can be quite overwhelming on a lot of different levels in life day to day. And I'm not sure if you're inundated with messages constantly or how that looks for you. But yeah, if you could talk a little bit about your own personal boundaries with other people and how you are functioning day to day.
Yeah, other
with
people and
such
spirit.
overwhelming access, because it can be quite overwhelming.
Yes. And I yes, because not only you're trying to like create boundaries with people, which are scarier than spirit, really. But you're trying to really, and you're trying to make boundaries with the spiritual world too. So you're like kind of living in this like dual dimension, you know, it's like one pinky in the spiritual world, then you're dealing with like friendships and all this stuff. And so it is very difficult to create boundaries. I will say it was easier for me to create boundaries in the spiritual world than it was to in the real world. Which I'm still learning that, and went through many lessons when it came to that, like with people and family. But spiritually, it was a little easier than I thought. You know, I was taught how to create boundaries. I studied about how to do that. And again, my mentor taught me a lot of things I can do, a lot of tools that I could use in order to do that. And one of the things she said is you have to know that the spiritual world, they can hear us, especially if they're those that have crossed. You can talk to them like you would talk to an adult. You can talk to them like you would even talk to a child, like, hey, you don't belong here. Hey, don't wake me up at night. Like, I know that you're here. We can share space, but you are not allowed to come into my aura. You are not invited in unless, you know, I invite you. And so literally I'd be that crazy person saging my place at 3 a.m, because that's when, you know, the veil is the thinnest.
That's so witchy.
That's
yeah, so witchy. But that's when I was told to do it, and putting salt in the corners. And what worked is just having like a weird conversation to the ether and being like, I know you guys are here. I know that, you know, I can sense you, but basically like the vibe sucks, not cool, step back.
Let's acknowledge and move on.
Yeah.
Like, and what it is, it's like, it's just their clothes. Imagine you sleeping and someone walks up and just sticks their face like right in your face. Like, you're gonna feel that and be like and freak out, right? It's just the energy of it. And
there's
and
no
the same
personal
way.
space.
No, so you literally have to be like, get back, like stand back, don't come near me, don't come that close. And if they literally don't come that close, then it's okay. You know, spirit is a scary feeling. Even sometimes positive energy could be a little frightening when you feel it out of nowhere. So
I'm sure like no matter how long you do it, it'll always be like somewhat overwhelming.
It is. But when you start to set these boundaries, it's kind of like you create your castle, and then it's much harder for them to come in. You know, I do not invite anything in anytime. If I start to feel it and I'm in a group setting or I'm with someone, obviously doing my work, I let them in. But if I'm just out like chilling with my friends, or I'm home, I'm not working. So I'm like, nope, don't come near me, because it's still scary to me. It really still like freaks me out sometimes, so I'm like, don't want anything to do with that. And so getting messages all the time, like if I'm having an intimate conversation with someone and we've created a space together, doesn't matter like what it is, but if we have like a vibe going, or like where someone's sharing their story with me and like it's a heartfelt thing for some reason, then yes, I'll start to like be bombarded with like messages for them, and I'll just be swimming in my mind, because probably the person's vulnerable and they're opening up and I'm getting a sense. But that's kind of the only time now I'll feel, unless I'm, again, unless like you guys came to the circle, I already was like, all right, I'm open. Like you guys can come in, like shop's open. You know what I mean? So
it's interesting that you feel the connection when other people are being more open, because I think that something the rest of the humans can realize is that we are probably, or whoever you're talking to is probably, would be easier for them to connect with spirit themselves, but they don't feel that connection. They don't see the signs. They're not listening to the voice in their head that could be a message. So it's like coming through you, because the spirit team or whatever is like, well, we'll know you'll listen, because Brittany isn't like, or you know what I mean? It's really a lesson.
I agree. And everyone has the ability to do what I do on some level. If they're patient and they're willing to do the work, they're willing to remove blocks, they're willing to create boundaries with people. Letting go of toxic energy for me was super important. Getting rid of toxic people that were bringing me down energetically. These people had to go. I mean, I moved to California, to kind of escape some people too. It's like, I need a fresh start. I need to kind of just remove. And the more you remove what's not working in your life, the more, in my experience, you really connect to spirit. And I don't mean those that have crossed over. I mean like source, source energy. And everyone has the capability to do that. So yes, when someone goes into that vulnerable space, spirit is more present than ever. And so if anyone wants to like connect with spirit, they really do need to be vulnerable, and they have to go to that place. And if they're stuck or they don't want to go inside, it's going to be very difficult to feel that.
That's so telling of like, if you're not even willing to face those feelings in yourself and what you are, whether it's like even joy or fear, no matter what the feeling is, you're not open at all to any kind of receiving from spirit. So you got to face that.
This is shadow work.
Your emotions, yourself.
It is. Shadow work it's absolutely that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions we wrote down, was if you had any like tips or things that you would tell people so that they could themselves connect to the universe and their spirit guides and that type of stuff, besides, being true to your emotions and like, being vulnerable.
Yeah. Know thyself. Do the work. The more that I healed and the more that I faced fears and things that were tormenting me or blocking me from succeeding or living, the more I became open to it and the more I trusted it. It's really trust. If you are really hurt in your life and you lack trust, you're not going to trust in something you can't even see. You don't even trust people that you can see. So why are you going to trust this unknown force? You're not going to trust yourself. So even if you're getting intuitive hits, you're not going to trust that. Yeah. So it's kind of like clearing the garbage away, clear enough to hear and see and be the truth. And if you're really unhealed, and you're just living a life that is not progressive, spiritually progressive, or if you are small-minded, or if you let people take advantage of you all the time. If you let people take advantage of you, it's because you don't know yourself. You haven't gone in enough to say, hey, I'm worth more. Dang, you haven't done that. So yeah, I'm going to let everyone take advantage of me. It's really easy. It's like wearing a sign. I was abused, so you can abuse me. I don't have worth. People feel it. It's energy,
Soul sucking.
It's sure. So, that's why I always say people are more dangerous than spirit, because you can get into some real shit. Excuse my French.
Oh, you're totally fine.
Like, okay, good.
Yeah. We are that kind of podcast.
Okay, good.
It is not that.
Yeah. So that would be my recommendation for someone who wants to begin the journey. And for those who are a mess, right? There are, and are still connected to spirit and do still have those feelings, it does probably mean that there is some innate like gifts that they kind of just have. And so then I would say you need to just delve into it and not be scared of it and study. And it's like a muscle.
I know so many people who are like that. They're a psychic, but then there's just like so much other shit going on in their life that there's like no trust there and no real like.
It's like, how can you work on connecting to other people if you can't even connect to yourself?
Yeah.
You know, it starts with you and then goes out from that. It's so interesting.
And some people, they're not in the market. They don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want to help people. They're not really, that's not like what their MO is, you know? And so I knew someone who would use it as like a tool to manipulate, you know? You totally can. It's like sociopathic if you really want to be.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's,
wow. It's scary. We always talk about like, I feel like there are leeches everywhere in the world, but especially in the spiritual community, we've thought about doing episodes about just like this fucking scammers that just prey on people.
Predatory practices. Yeah.
Because you see them all the time and they're like, oh, just pay this amount of money and like follow everything I do. It's just so innately sometimes when people.
Well, sometimes, you know, when you are in touch with subtler energies and you can pick that up around people, you can be a manipulator.
Yeah.
Like
you can use that power for bad.
Use it for in a way that's not helpful. And in a way that a cult leader might.
No, literally.
Yeah, literally,
it's
you
crazy.
know, it's like there's no dark energy, just dark people. And so it's just like what you want to do with it is up to you. You know, people who are really great manipulators, they know how to read people amazingly.
And energy and vibration and all that. They're just using it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It's actually this. So this is like kind of like a big question, or you know, we might have to think about it for a second, but we were wondering if there was ever like one moment or session or something that was like a blew your mind moment, or maybe like a really pushy spirit that like was like somebody's grandpa who just like wouldn't give up and like was like following you around the grocery store for days. I don't know, you wouldn't be in the grocery store for days, but just any of those like kind of funny or crazy stories that like even you were surprised.
Oh, that I'm surprised often, but I mean, sometimes I'm like, that's true. Like sometimes I still surprised. Trust me. But I think the first thing that came to mind was actually it was here in LA. It was the day before I was doing one of those psychic circles I don't know where I was doing it. It might have been at Liberate. I can't remember. It was a couple years ago, and it was the night before, and I kept feeling the presence of like a teenager, like in my room, and especially at night, and it kept coming in and like waking me up. And I got Adam, like a name, I believe that was the name, and it was really sad and just scary and weird, and he wouldn't go away. It just was like, imagine I'm gonna sit in your room, man, and just be here all night, and then I'm gonna follow you all day tomorrow, and then I'm gonna follow you into the circle. And it's kind of what happened. I couldn't shake this energy, and it was like, so I was constantly feeling like, oh my God, like I knew in the depths of my soul that this person committed suicide. I knew that they had a drug problem. I just kind of felt their story. And so long story short, we go to the circle, and again, when you were there, so after we meditated, the first thing that came to me was this Adam. Anyone here had a son, Adam, who might have committed suicide? And this woman freaked out, like started sobbing. And I was just like, and it was probably the most intense reading that I've ever had. I think that some of that intense stuff came up in our circle as well. The circle we had together, definitely there were some like mind-blowing moments as well, actually. No, there was with you. so it was like that, but it was like intense because the spirit was like following around for like the whole day. And I feel with this woman, this Adam, I was like the closest I've ever felt to actually having this spirit being transfixed in me. Like I almost felt like I was talking as this person, or like it was like he kind of just was using my body and my voice. It was really trippy. Is usually the experience like you are speaking to them, but they are outside of you? Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. this was like, no, it was inside me. I could feel like everything. I mean, I started crying because it was too much. He was too inside me. He was too alive. And it was really depressing. And a couple of days after that, I really had to cleanse myself. I really had to get rid of that energy, because like many other psychics and mediums, I'm very prone to depression. So if I pull in an energy that suffered like that, it could really screw with me, my own well-being. So I had a couple of rough days after that. I remember I was like, damn, like I need to shake this off. And so that to me would have been like one of the top ones, I think.
That is really crazy to just have someone hang in. Like, are you
for
gonna pay
days?
rent?
Yeah, like you could like make me some food.
Seriously, I'm like, do you like scrambled eggs or what? Like, am I cooking for you?
Well, he clearly had some messages he needed to get across. Too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he guided his mom there as well. Like
it's healing, like the work you do just from us being there.
Yeah.
Like I know
there's a lot of lightness in our friend who got a message from her father that passed away. Like she's already making like exponential changes. I feel like she like went to a therapist and is like, I don't know, her life is like,
wow,
like she's really like dealing with a lot of the stuff. And I feel like it's nice to like have it as a turning point, but it's hard because then you have to like have such good self-care for yourself, because you are like changing people's lives, but you're also like draining your own.
I was gonna ask what that kind of process looks like. Like after you do group work with us, what are you doing to replenish yourself? What kind of rebound periods are you facing?
I feel like I wouldn't talk to people for like 3 days, like no human contact.
I could tell you this, and a lot of it is in the prep actually.
Isn't that a metaphor for life?
Yeah, really. It's in what I do before it. I go into deep meditation. I call upon like my spirit family, be with me. I invite those beings in that are safe for me to be with from the get. I have like my spiritual bouncers, so to speak. And I'm like, look, if an energy comes through or is trying to come through that's going to do me harm or anyone else, we can't have it. Like that just is not going to come through. So I kind of am like preparing. And then after, I do a little, like we just kind of clear it a little bit. And then when everyone leaves, I usually go in the bathroom, and that's where I sit there and I just kind of release everything that I need to release. If I feel like I've carried something, I'll feel it. I'll know if I have, and I'll know if I'm good. It's just a feeling. And that's pretty much it. It took I would say a while in this whole journey to be able to quickly kind of like
bounce back,
release it. Yeah. It just was like kind of a journey in learning how to do it, and then having it actually work and not just feeling crappy. Because if I'm sure like a lot of times psychics and mediums, they also have their empaths as well. And empath is the psychic ability of pulling in other people's emotions and pulling in emotions from those that cross. So it's like, whoa. And I have learned in my life that I am an empath, but because of the boundaries I create, that is not really my strongest sense. And so when that does happen, like when I felt that kid so strong, like his emotions, it absolutely rocked my world, because I don't work like that. So talk about pushy. Yeah, he like pushed his way in beyond what I wanted.
Sounds like a typical teenager, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, he must have been a Virgo.
Absolutely, seriously. I was like, dude, you need to as a someone like what I do, you can't dive in the emotional well with someone. You have to really be above it, and you have to stay in this space of, I created this healing space for you. I'm giving you the information. You can't like jump in emotionally with anyone.
Yeah.
But
I feel
because
like
of that,
that's probably hard with like your human clients. This is super random, but do you feel like it's easier or more difficult to read strangers versus like your friends and family, or it's like no difference whatsoever?
It's difficult reading friends and family because I know a lot about them. So I'd have to really like get out of my own head for that, which I can. I really can. I have to kind of like psych myself out and say, I don't know this person. Like, I don't know this person, and just go with my gut. So strangers is much easier. Yes.
Super interesting.
For me, yeah, strangers.
Because I feel like there's like this clear boundary with strangers, and with like people you love, people you're close to, you're enmeshed in a way. Like there is a certain like connectivity. So it is hard to like compartmentalize for a second and like separate to be able to deliver a message.
Yeah. And it's like anything else. It's like if I build websites, I don't know if I'd want to build one for my friends because it's like business and friends, business and family. It gets weird.
Totally.
So I probably would that's why I don't read my friends. I'll give them advice. You know what I mean? For sure. And if they need it, I'll like tap in a little bit, but I really try not to. If someone really needs that type of work, I always refer them to other people. Smart. So they can get that like fresh perspective from someone who doesn't know them. Yeah. It's for their benefit. And I could tell you that I have talk about boundaries. People have kind of pushed their way into my life in like under the like auspicious friend, right? Like, oh, I'm your friend. I want to get to know you, but really they just constantly want free spiritual work. And then you find yourself like in a space of, wow, I'm not their friend, I'm their like teacher now. And it's super weird. So
there's not that reciprocal filling up on your end. Like you're clearly giving to somebody else, but then what are you receiving out of that relationship? Like it's always gotta be.
It's crazy. They're like just leeches and so many. I felt like in the beginning of me moving to LA, I remember I was in a group of friends and like at one point I was like, oh, I'm not going to drink tonight. Like I have a big audition. And they're like, you know, why? What do you mean? And then I like, you take a step back and you're like, what actually am I receiving from this friendship? Like, you know, and it's just such an eye-opening thing to constantly, it sucks that you have to like question those things around you, but at least you have the wherewithal to know when someone's taking advantage of you like that.
Yeah. And it's all feeling. And you can say, oh, it's me. It's not them. It's me. What's wrong with me? But really it is them. The surefire way back, like circling back to boundaries, is if you leave a friend and you feel less than you did before you met them, then they are sucking your energy. If you feel like there isn't an even exchange, right? It's not the friendship isn't right. And that's when you start to create your boundaries, when you're like, something, it just don't feel right.
Yeah.
You know,
I call them charity friendships.
That's nice of you.
I was like, charity is too nice a word.
Because you definitely feel drained. I cut them out, but I used to just like be like, okay, well, these are my charity friends. So like I give energy to because I feel bad for
them.
Yeah. Like, but people have autonomy and they could do what they need to do to like feel better. It's not like up to anyone else. So if you have those charity friends, like you can cut them out. It is okay if it's going to be best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you know who they are in your life and you just accept that. So
because sometimes they're your family and you don't get to choose them.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So there you go. Sometimes acceptance is just the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've talked about your group sessions that you offer in Los Angeles where me and Kate like basically met you. And you talked about doing some one-on-ones in New York. What do you focus on now? Do you have like favorites or do you have a little bit of everything? Like what does your, practice look like?
Yeah. My practice right now is mostly like psychic mediumship, and just general intuition. And I'm using the word unfortunately, because it didn't start out that way. I used to do a lot of work one-on-one, transition out of things in their life, helping them, lessen their anxieties or depressions or going into their trauma. Like I just love psychology and I love that aspect of it. And a lot of people now, unfortunately, they just want the answers. They don't want to find them out for themselves. And I won't be that for someone. And I feel if they're fishing for that, not me. So a session with me would look like, we'll do some mediumship. We will connect to guides. I will do numerology because I love it. It's really a spiritual practice for me. Maybe I'll pull a tarot card. That's not really my forte in my session. I usually just go into myself. Mm-hmm. But now I've really started to add a lot of like my love for coaching and psychology, because I give people these messages that could be really hard to hear. Or let's say, your friend's father did come through and she is swelled up with emotion. It's important that I know how to guide them through that.
Yeah. You don't want to just drop bombs without giving like tools to deal with it afterwards.
Be like, hi, your father's here. Peace out. good luck with that. You give people tools, you help them work through the emotions of it. So a lot of times I find myself having to do that with people. And most people who want psychic help really need therapy. This is what I've learned. And so, I sometimes just start to give someone therapy because I'm like, well, this is what they need. And then there are those people who are just like, having issues with, fertility, to see children in the future, and that I'm okay with, because if someone is suffering, I will use my abilities to try to help them get clarity. Yeah. But if it's just like at a party and someone's like, how many kids am I going to have? Like, I don't do that. It happens. Sometimes I will.
If people wanted to reach out to you, do you have like a website we could list so like people could book maybe a one-on-one session, even if it's not in person? Do you do Zooms with people?
Yeah, right now since the pandemic, it's been all Zoom.
Yeah, I figured. So if you have like a website, or would you rather people reach out on Instagram? How do you like to be found?
Website is Bene Mudra. My business name is benemudra.com. And I also teach classes and workshops and host events and retreats. So I do a lot, not just this, outside of one-on-one sessions. But at James Bene or at Bene Mudra, my Instagrams, either one could work. You could reach out to me there. It's pretty simple. Yeah.
I love that. Well, we'll link all of these in the description box of the YouTube and the podcast. I was going to say Buzzsprout. I think that's basically all of the questions that we had today.
Yeah, maybe we should just close it out with the tarot pool. And if you feel a group reading that you want to share with our listeners, with our little community.
Sure.
We usually like to pull a card and see what messages that like our fools need to hear at the moment. I've been going on this session of just pulling the Knight of Pentacles for a month straight, and it's really like, it's insane. Strong shuffles like 3 times on the podcast. I was like, I give up.
They just wanted to keep working.
They're like, hey, this is the message you need.
Yeah.
And sometimes simple is best. But yes, let's see. For your community. Without pulling the card, I could say that a couple of your peeps probably will listen to this and need a lot of strength. There's some stuff going on in their life right now, probably with family or loss that they're grappling with. And they have to just hold on, because those that experience grief and loss in that type of way, there's nothing else you can do but ride the wave. And the strongest of people stay on the surfboard, and they ride that wave, and it sucks and it's painful, but it will create who you are. We have to learn how to be strong, and sometimes life will show you how to do that. Temperance is what I pulled. So the ability to achieve balance, to come together, to find that middle path, right? Not to get too angry, not to get too joyful. Find that middle path. It's like riding the wave. So it really kind of connects. Don't go to extremes. Just be and allow yourself to live in the flow of life. And sometimes the flow of life is going to be really friggin' rocky. And sometimes the flow of life is going to be beautiful and joyful. You will experience both, because you're on Earth. And on Earth, our soul is here to experience polarity. Really dark stuff, really good stuff, and then just little stuff, right? So we are all going to experience those things at some point in our life here. No one can escape it. So when you're in it, just relax, go for the ride. It will end. It won't last forever.
And that deep darkness informs the bright, joyous light. So if you are riding the wave, to our little fools, know that we support you. We're here for you. We're glad you're here for us. And what a beautiful message of temperance.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your experiences with us and your insight. I hope that people, if they feel called to it, reach out to you for their own spiritual growth.
Incredible mediumship, you guys. Like, he had the whole circle in tears. We were not okay. Everyone was getting precisely the message they needed,
but in the best way.
Yeah, in the best way. It was amazing.
Yeah,
that was one of the best ones. That was really one of the, I think, the most memorable circles, besides the first one I told you about that I had. So I thank you guys for being there.
Yeah, thank
Sure.
you for having us.
It
We'll
was
definitely come to one in the future.
our pleasure. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna.
We told some friends about it. They were like,
what? Why didn't we get an invite in the first place?
I know.
Yeah, it's the last Monday of each month.
Perfect.
I have to put that on the schedule.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.